Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another uh, OSR tabletop with myself, GM blah, can't talk yet. GM Bloodworth. Sorry. And So this is a response video. A couple days ago, Blueberry Wolfbridge, uh, small YouTube channel that I really do, enjoy watching and checking it out. And this whole like brouhaha over something that I believe it started with Venger Satanis's blog post, and I think that the response to that blog post really does take it out of context, and then all of a sudden, all of these different YouTube channels and everything started jumping on and taking it in places that I don't think the blog post, and I'm going to go over the blog post as well. I don't think the blog post was taken in the way that it was intended, and quite frankly, then the accusations, not so much against Venture Satanis, but the accusations about the OSR in general started flowing, and that's when I started, taking an interest in it. And when I had seen Blueberry Wolfbridge's, his initial YouTube posting on it, watched that whole thing through, and he certainly did make some incredible points. And then he just put up another video today, actually, which kind of stole the thunder of what I was going to talk about here as well, because I think he started connecting some of those dots and everything that that I had already been thinking about yesterday and the day prior to. So but I'm going to talk about those and go into some further detail with that. I do want to say hello to some people that are popping in. So as you enter in and leave your comments, if anyone wants to join the chat, I'm going to put that posting up as well, that invite. So first thing we have here, hey Mac, how's it going? Rereading SD, looking for hidden agendas, nothing yet. Yeah, I mean that the accusations on both sides of this issue were kind of crazy and out of left field. Like some were saying, well, the OSR, it's these guys are just jealous because they, it was a woman who created an RPG, and it's there's a hidden agenda behind this RPG, or that she's she's woke, or all this kind of crazy nonsense on that side, and saying that, oh, she's just being attacked because it's a female creator. And I hadn't seen any of those attacks at all. All right. I haven't seen a single person on YouTube, come out and say blah 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 blah. This is a bad game, or she's gained accolades that she's not entitled to, or she wasn't deserving of, or whatever. Now, I will put a disclaimer, all right, that I backed the Kickstarter, I got the book, I run the game, I love the game system. I think that the game system is perfect in certain circumstances, and I'll go into detail with that as well. When I looked at the Ennies and saw who it was stacked up against for those categories, of course it was going to win the Ennies. It's the game that everyone had heard of. Some of the other ones are, not to take away from them, but it just doesn't have the other games really were kind of out of left field, or just never heard of them before, or whatnot. So it's not surprising that it won Game of the Year and layout, and all of that is to point out that its layout is excellent layout. That's granted, that's a subjective thing, but the point is that it's hard to say that its layout wasn't deserving. So that was another thing that came up that I was like, it winning the Ennies. I don't think that the Ennies that it had won, it was undeserved. All right, so let's put that out there as well. Let's see. Mercurius, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Cal, also good to see you there. Stevens, I have a lot of regulars in here tonight, so great to see you as well. They are saying that she is being attacked out of envy. I don't see these attacks, though. That's what I'm pointing out. It's like first there was the accusation, all of these people are attacking her, and attacking her game and whatnot. And I think that came out of the blue, to be honest with you. It just, I think that the allegations of these supposed attacks, took place first, and then maybe some responses started coming in and being negative about it. But again, I'm going to let anyone that wants to jump in and talk about it as well. But I am going to share the Venger's blog post and just the pertinent section of it, and say that there was no attack there, and I can definitely see where he was coming from and what he was talking about as far as taking up all the oxygen in the room content, and I will get to that as well. God forbid a female contributes to the hobby, and again, no one said that. I have not seen a single person until possibly this controversy started blowing up, and it's a fake controversy. I haven't seen a single person come out and say, oh, this is not a great game because it's a woman created it. I haven't seen that anywhere. All right, and so I think that only after the accusations of that being said, might you have seen some people saying that, so it just doesn't make sense to me. And it again, it came out of the blue, and I think it started with Venger's blog, and Venger's blog does not in any way attack the game or its creator. All right, and again, I will get to that in a second. Let's see what else we have here. Gonna see if he can run Barovia with it. Hey, RPG Pundit, I've seen some people claim it's just a BX clone, which is totally untrue. It is a combination of both old school with some new school mechanics. That's how it's even advertised, right? It's the old school feel with some modern mechanics attached to it. I don't want to bury this lead too much. I think that ShadowDark truly shines as a convention game system. It works phenomenally well at a convention table, and new players are going to sign up. I am running it at conventions. I have run it at conventions, and it just works perfectly well for a 3 to 4 hour time block, one shot. People can pick up the game system very, very quickly. It's very easy to run as a game master. And when you put all of its components out there, and people see it at the table as they're passing by, there's a genuine interest in hey, what's going on here? And they look at it, and the game tables where I am running ShadowDark at the next 2 conventions are full. They filled up. The first one filled up at the Philadelphia Area Game Expo. That my Thursday night game was the fastest filling table all right, for that convention. All right, it filled in 40 minutes, and there is there's like 4 or 5 people on the waiting list to join a table that was already set for 6 players. All right, so um, it really does hit it out of the ballpark at conventions. And I think that's where it really shines. Now, is it a long-term campaign game system? I don't know yet. I'm in my about 6th or 7th session with the game system. The characters are 2nd level, at this point, and we will see, how much legs it has to last a long-term convention. It only goes up to level 10, by the way. So I don't think it's truly designed to be a multi-month, multi-year kind of game system for a campaign, but perhaps it is. So I haven't experienced it yet. I'm working on it. Yeah, the attacks almost seem like the third hand grapevine. Yeah, it's like there was no attacks like initially until there was the whisper that there were attacks. It's almost like without any verification that there were attacks. No, I know what you're like, Steve. I know what you're saying there. Like it is not Ravenloft, and it is not it's not like a ripoff of Ravenloft. It's just a very clean, easy to use system. Probably a little bit darker than your typical D&D BX clone, but not anywhere near Ravenloft. All right, let's see. There will always be someone in the world who's not like whatever you make. Yep. Some have more followers, which magnifies the issue where they might have some with said product. Yeah. I mean, and I think that really does get to the point is that not only was ShadowDark so opportunely timed for when it released, but then there were connections that she made at some of those early conventions that she went to with ShadowDark, and these were all people with very large YouTube channels, and so and I'm not going to get into whether she did she paid to have people advertise her game, and that's part of the that's part of the industry of publishing tabletop role-playing games. That's part of the industry of having the large YouTube channels. They all do sponsorships and those kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to say, hey, don't go out there and market your game as best you can. No, of course you're going to try to do what you can to get the word out for your game. And yes, you're going to go on the big channels. But to her credit, she went on some small channels as well. All right. She went on Tenkar's Tavern. All right. And she took heat for going on Tenkar's Tavern. All right. And she didn't have to go on that channel. All right. And I don't know. I'm sure that she enjoyed the experience, and I certainly know that Eric Tenkar enjoyed the experience of having her on her chat on his channel. I'll slow down a little bit. So let's see. Convention game. What would make sense given that Kelsey was a frequenter of many old school cons? From which, yeah, I mean, it's just, if I don't think that she markets it as this is a convention game. Even though it's popping up all over the place at conventions. That's me saying that this is a great convention game, you know. So that's that's something that I don't think that she'll come out and say, hey, this is designed to be a convention game. Certainly not like those really old school TSR adventures that were written for tournament play. Those were clearly designed for that purpose, and they actually don't work well outside of that purpose. So that's another point that has come up from here and there, that it's not a long-term campaign type of game system. And again, that may or may not be true. Thank you very much, Mercurius. So we'll see who picked that up. I always forget how that works, but congratulations to whoever got that, and thank you, Mercurius, for your always very generous gifting of subscriptions. DCC goes to level 10, and I've been running it for nearly 12 years. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's again, I'm just putting it into my own experience so far, that I'm not sure how long how long it will last through take to get to 10 yet, because they're only at 2 now. I've only run it with my gaming group for about 6 or 7 weeks, and we'll see how it goes along. Yeah, DCC only goes to level 10, but is there? So I'm going to ask you, because I've never run a long campaign with that. I've only actually played DCC. So my question to you, RPG Pundit, is that have they hit that level 10 already, and are still continuing to adventure? I would think after 12 years they probably hit that level 10 quite a while ago, and now they're just going beyond what the character sheet is limiting them at. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're playing beyond with their characters, that they don't really need the level advancement to keep their interest going in the campaign itself. Yep, and there are new RPGs that are looking for a starting system for players that are turned off by the complexities of Pathfinder or 3.5 or 5e. New, more complex games like Baptism of Fire or Axe or ShadowDark is a great alternative. Yeah, and I mean, that's a great point to make, that yeah, some people just don't like the complexity, but they do want something that is a little bit different, and that's another accusation, that there's nothing different about ShadowDark. It might not be, each of its elements might not be unique to it, but the combination of them just seems to blend so well that it feels like something new, if that makes any sense. Yeah, let me get to Venger's Claim here, because I think that Venger's Claim is being taken a little bit differently than perhaps what he intended, or so let me get to that claim. I'm going to share that and talk to that portion. And many of you are probably already aware of this, but let me get to this here, and I'm going to just get to the section where he's talking specifically about it. So let's see. He talks about it right here. All right, so sure, I could point a tentacle at our shitty economy. The OSR is dying, folks. Politics and culture war stuff, which may or may not have led to online retailers and crowdfunding sites censoring and stealth banning via the almighty algorithm. The current necessity of slick marketing campaigns anointed by establishment approved YouTubers, the shadow darkening of our hobby. Various forces and personalities and groups overinflating RPG popularity to the point where everything is geared towards the lowest common denominator tourists and infused with socialism and soy. So I don't see this as being a degradation of either her as a creator or the game system of ShadowDark. It's just a more of a critique of like slick marketing campaigns. I mean, no one can fault somebody for having a slick marketing campaign if you know, that just makes sense. It's the established and improved YouTubers part that I think is his real jab at this. And then the fact that, you know, his own products, and we all probably know this, were initially like shadow banned and actually outright banned on, you know, on drive-through and probably elsewhere. So I can certainly see that coming out and saying, hey, you know what, it must be nice to have a product that is openly welcomed by so many different you know, segments of the hobby, and never have to deal with, you know, the naysayers, let's say. And you know, although I don't know exactly what Venger means by the lowest common denominator tourists, you know, I will certainly push back on that idea because, you know, I certainly run the system and I do not consider myself to be a tourist, you know, and I am certainly not a socialism or a soy. So that's, you know, that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, so I don't know what the lowest common denominator. I think it's just a more a broader denominator, not necessarily the lowest common. It's just a common denominator. It's crossed many different, you know, both spanning, you know, modern players and old school players are looking at this game and they enjoy it. So, you know, I think Venger is pointing more towards that that grouping of anointed, established, you know, YouTubers. All right, and so let me see how I get out of this and get back to. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Sorry, I almost forgot how to get back out of that. So that's really where I think that there's some place where some people latched on upon that and they just took it to a different place than maybe what it was intended to. Now, I do want to talk, and this actually goes back to Blueberry Wolf Bridges video, where he also, you know, came out and he was talking about, you know, those various YouTubers that are very large channels, and the fact that they do seem to promote each other through their own, you know, through their own clique, and I think that's what Venger was really pointing to, was the clickiness, if that's a word, the clickiness of the you know, of the hobby in that sense, where there's a lot of cross promotion of just certain names out there, and she just got lucky, or made the networking connections to get into some of those largest, clicky groups. um so let's see, let me get caught up now with some of these. All right, so yeah, you're talking about a lot of people think that DCC is only good at low levels, but high level play is awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it is. If you've been running it for 12 years, I'm guessing it is. Um, I know one of your players' characters are Bill the Elf and everything. I know I've seen plenty of your talk, things about it. So let's see. Two of my players have characters level 10. They're now on a quest for immortality, but because the Last Sun campaign, they've been total slackers about it. Yeah, if games have a lot of what's called domain play, which really Axis is built on that, to a great extent, then you can go beyond the levels and not worry about the levels anymore. You're doing things beyond worrying about character advancement, and you're doing more character development and fleshing them out and whatnot, and learning more about the world and functioning at that kind of level. Um, so let's see. Venture was talking about a legitimate issue. 5e is driven by influencer culture. Yes, I think that's really what he's talking about. Um, his he wasn't attacking the game system or the creator. He was talking about the influencer culture. Now, to my knowledge, like someone like Ginny D has not, really promoted ShadowDark at all. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It's not like I follow her channel, but she's not been mentioned as far as I can tell. Seriously promoting ShadowDark. So again, yeah, I'm not going to go check her video backlog and see if she's actually done so or not. But yes, there is a clickiness. And actually, I was going to put a few things up here to talk about that. Hey, off grid, how's it going? Good to see you. And not wanting that in the OSR, which is a design movement. Yeah, but you know what? The OSR should be using some of the same tools that 5e uses, amongst those influencers. I've said it for a long time that the YouTube channels that are more OSR or independent game centric should be kind of supporting one another, following each other, getting on each other's streams every once in a while and chatting and doing that kind of thing and networking amongst ourselves. All right. And because if you have a channel like the RPG Pundits, I think you're around like 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. All right. I'm roughly 3,500. Tankar's Tavern's roughly 4,000. I mean, we're all fairly small channels, and if we are all kind of talking with one another and saying, DM James is around 6,000. If we all start talking to one another and exchanging ideas and networking, per se, then that becomes an influence, on the overall hobby that's not going to happen if you're just isolating yourself and you're sticking to, well, I have my 3,500 subscribers, or I have my 10,000 subscribers, which is, a fairly decent sized channel, especially amongst the OSR. And we're not going to have that same kind of influence if we're not connecting with one another, and we won't get to that 100,000 mark, and we probably never will. But I think it's better if 6, 7, 10 of us are all, talking amongst each other, and and kind of combining, that overall influence that we have when we're connected. So, I did say I was going to throw that invite in there, so I will do that right now. And if anyone wants to actually jump right in and join the chat, you're welcome to do so. Yeah, so let's see. Let's see who is saying anything. Let me try to get caught up with the chats. I'm sorry, a lot of chats coming in. So that's a great. Someone pointed out about Jenny D, suggesting that it's because Kelsey was a girl. Yeah, but I mean, does Jenny D really promote anybody else except for her own stuff too? And that was another thing I was doing. Like I wanted to look at some of these big channels, right? And I wanted to see who follows whom. So when you go to someone's channel, you can see what channels they feature, let's say, and you can see what channels they certainly follow and everything on their suggested channels list. So they will suggest each other. And I was really quite surprised, because I was expecting to see that this group of channels really do like support one another, and they actually don't. I mean, the only one I saw was Bob World Builder actually follows a couple of the other channels, but very few of those channels actually follow him back, or they certainly don't list the channels that they follow, and they don't feature each other's channels. So it's almost like they're very territorial over their own space. Like they can't share they can't share subscribers or something like that, that ultimately they'll hurt themselves if they share subscribers, which I think is bizarre. As somebody who follows like 200 channels, the idea to me that it's not a what's that expression? There's no limit to how many channels you can follow. So you're not going to limit yourself by featuring other channels, by saying, oh, well, people now will follow them and stop following me. That doesn't make sense. It's not going to work that way. Okay, so let's see. Ain't it though? I'm going to name that campaign that. I missed that connection. I'm sorry. Shauner, hey, how's it going? Some comic book creators that complain that there are only so much money. Yeah, but that's not YouTube channel, Shauner. And following one another. And, I know one of the arguments was that this is an expensive game system, which I'm like, so yes, it's one book. It's $60. It's $60 for a completely contained system. All right. That's comparatively to other game system, it's not that expensive. Then the fact that you not only get the book, but you also get the PDF when you purchase the book. So consider a PDF usually for something that is roughly 324 pages. That PDF is usually going to run you about $20 to $30 anyway. So to argue that, oh, this is expensive, that's crazy. All right, that's absolute crazy talk, because the new D&D books are going to run something like $60, $70 a piece. and then you have to add. So you're talking about, I believe it worked out to like $240 for the set of 3 with their PDF, well, not PDFs, they, with their digital versions of them as well. So this game system is not too expensive. All right. And certainly not so far out of the realm of other game systems that are out there. That's crazy. So let's see. Let's get back to this. Yeah, again, this is not them supporting each other by buying each other's products necessarily. This is it's almost like college professors, right? When college professors use their fellow colleagues, their colleagues' books in their classes, and they force you to buy them. It's not like that. That's a true, cabal of villainy, if you want to talk, call it that. It's like that's a real scam. All right. So again, I think that I don't see a problem with these people creating their own little, their little groups, their cliques, and supporting one another. But I was surprised to see that many of them actually don't. Let's see. Shouldn't designers also be players? It's smart promotion to run your games at cons. Yeah, I think that they should. I think that it does really well for them. And there's nothing like sitting down at the table with the person that created the game system and having them run it, for you. So that's or wrote the adventure module or whatever, and having them run their own thing for you. Yeah, it's a great experience to do that. So create wealth is what I say. Yeah, I mean, yes, they're going to create wealth. By the way, if anyone wants to join in, you just hit that link there or cut it and paste it, and you can jump right in. Let's see. Talking to each other is what my upcoming live stream, RPG Pundit Experience, is going to be talking about. Yeah, I mean, and I've had this conversation with like DM James and some others, and there's Max from Legion of Myth, which always has like an open door for people to come on and chat and everything like that. There's been some there's some that haven't done so much of an exchange or anything like that, but they're also less involved in many ways. Some creators, they're less involved in the YouTube space, let's say. So they're more isolated and small in that case. You look at Troll Lord Games, they don't have a huge YouTube footprint at all. It's really quite shocking that they don't have a bigger following on YouTube, and because they just don't put that much out there. It's I have more video uploads than they do. All right, and I don't even have that many, in comparison to others. That it's really kind of surprising how few people. I think we oftentimes, and when we're talking about these influencers and everything, we're a niche of the niche. All right. 99% of the people that are playing in the tabletop role-playing hobby probably never come to YouTube at all. It's like when I hear about people talking about Reddit. If I've been on Reddit, I've probably been on Reddit less than 10 times in 4 or 5 years. It's just not someplace that I go to that often. So I think that, excuse me, the asthma is crazy today. Yeah, I think that it's less, I think we overblow the impact of YouTube, let's say, on the hobby overall. Yes. Yes, he has certain mechanics in his Black Hacks game system that and some 5e elements. Let's also be honest. What some people attribute to being 5e actually pre-existed 5e. Like rolling for advantage. I don't know where some people got the idea that 5e introduced rolling for advantage. That has existed long before 5th edition. That probably goes back to the late 80s that there were game systems that had rolling for advantage. Yeah, I mean, there's several people on here that I've read their works, and the one thing. So I will bring up. So the RPG Pundit. I've always bought his product. Enjoyed it, reviewed it, talked about it, or whatever. If if now when I was sent Baptism of Fire, I was kind of in that dilemma. I was like, I really appreciated getting the book, but I said to myself, you know what? I'm still going to buy the PDF, and because I wanted to have some skin in the game before I actually opened it up and started reviewing it. And and so that's something that I made a disclaimer for too, which I think you're obligated to do. You're obligated to say, hey, I got this free PDF, and and then you still review it. You still review it fairly. All right. You have to have integrity when you're doing reviews. And you might decide that, hey, like I know, like Professor Dungeon Master will, if he gets sent a game system that he thinks is shit, he's not going to do a review and say, hey, I think this game is truly crap. Um, I've been lucky so far that I've only gotten like one or two game systems in the last, since like 2015. I've been building up my collection of tabletop role-playing games, and there's very few that, like I said, I can only probably think of like two maybe that were such crap that I just didn't review them. Not so much that I didn't want to hurt the feelings of the creator, but just didn't want to waste my time making a video of a game and saying, hey, this is really crap. I did have one video game, on Steam that, and that's really where my channel's name came from, was Unscripted and Unchained, was the fact that I was really setting it up to be a review of Steam games that I had in my library. And when I bought a new game, I was going to just show you an introductory player's experience with going into this game. And I came across one game that, I just couldn't, even though I had met all the specs and everything, I just couldn't open up the game. It just didn't work. There was another one, the game Elite Dangerous. It was so stroby or whatever that I felt like I was going to have an epileptic seizure from playing it. It was like I even tried to send it back to them, but it was after the 7 days that I couldn't even return it for a thing, and I've never opened it up since. So yeah, I mean, there's a difference between getting a review copy and then and then giving it a fair review and getting a review copy and then allowing the fact that you were given something um, to taint your review and give it a glowing review just because you got it for free. So yeah, I could see where some would call it that, but yeah, there's ways to avoid being called a shill. Sales don't equal play. Yeah, and that's probably true to some extent, I guess. I won't buy simply because I only run one E and two E. I have 42 years and tens of thousands of dollars tied up in AD&D. I won't change systems. Yeah, I know sales doesn't equal, I wouldn't say sales doesn't equal play. I would say also sales doesn't necessarily equal quality either. Um, the McDonald's hamburger analogy that I use all the time is something that that I don't, that I make all the time. Sorry, I'm turning off my phone here. Um, so that's another thing that I don't get that involved with as far as sorry, phone distracted me. I like trying other systems though. So that other point that you're making is that you simply won't play something because it's not AD&D first or second edition. I encourage you to expand your horizons. But that's all. If you don't choose not to, that's fine too. Let's see. Pundit encounter not experienced that would get me sued by Rogan. Oh, I missed that connection. Sorry. I don't think ShadowDark has many opportunities for Jenny Tina to cosplay. Yeah, that again, I think that Jenny D, and I'm certainly, well, she has me blocked anyway, so she won't see this. But it's got to be in her interest to do something, otherwise she won't do it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, she didn't play RPGs 3 years ago. Yeah, kind of like Mackenzie DeArmas didn't do that either. Yeah, there's a lot of 5e fledglings that never really played before 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, that whole thing, Friends and everything, and I know that came up in the, that came up on Blueberry Wolf Bridges, his video as well. By the way, that was called ShadowDark and the ire that it may have spawned, and his actual thing. Let me pull up that banner so you see what I'm talking about. So this is what really spurred this video on, was this is my response to "Our dude's not allowed to hate ShadowDark," and that became kind of like a tongue-in-cheek way of saying that men were being accused of hating ShadowDark because ShadowDark was created by a woman, and a young woman in particular, and that's again, it's just a weird take to have, and at least initially, I don't think that was an argument being made. One of my favorite comments to put on people who make these unfounded accusations is, I'll take something no one said for 500, Alex. You see it way too often, is that these are these allegations that have no evidence to back them up. So that's where I come down on that there. Yeah, influencers are always obsessed with their own brand, and and again, that's the reason why I'm saying that. I think that I was surprised that they don't cross follow one another, or at least not openly, where you go to the channel and you look to see who they have as featured or followed channels, and they're not all connected together. Now, when you see them at a convention and they're all taking pictures with one another, they're all chummy chummy and all of this, but when it comes back to their channel, they're not backing each other up. And I was, again, I was surprised to see that, to a certain extent. Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely correct. It's like, that's why I always tell people, if you have a channel and come in there, specifically tell me. Don't put a link, because YouTube likes to erase links. But go in there and say, hey, I have a channel, check it out. And I will check it out. And if there's, a lot of stuff in there that really looking into, and I always practice reciprocity. If you're sub to my channel, I will tend to sub to your channel as well. Hopefully you have content on your channel that I can actually watch stuff on your channel. But even if you don't, if you're a big supporter of the channel and I see that you're subbed to my channel, I'll follow you back. A lot of times I'm the first sub for some people. I don't have a problem with that. And I think it is a form of networking that's important, because you might be more inclined to share my videos, because you know that I am subbing back to you. And I followed the same policy on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, that if you're following me, I'm going to follow you back, unless you're a bot, or a one of those mail order bride type of things that you see on there all the time. Let's see. Yeah, if you all want to see SD at play, there you go. Monday nights, Flint's Place. Yes, and I will definitely check that out. So thank you for sharing that. She kept her nose to the grinder, building up her YouTube audience. Then she reached out to the point when she could announce that the game and she had been working on for over a year. Actually, I think she was working on almost like 3 years before we finally announced that the thing was. But again, she's either very genuine or extremely smart. All right. In that she doesn't reveal, and she doesn't cross over any kind of political commentary or anything like that. So, like I said, she's either, very, very genuine, and she's, kind of in between both worlds of OSR and modern tabletop role-playing games, or again, she's just super, super savvy, and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to separate these two things, and never will I, she doesn't run that political thing. That's when people said, and someone earlier said, search through all of her content looking for wokeness, and they didn't find it. And that's because she doesn't put it out there. She's either smart enough not to put it out there, or she doesn't think it's important, because she's a game designer, and so, I give her credit where it's due. These days, sadly, $60 is normal for a big hardcover. Yeah, I mean, it's, and even though it's a digest sized, it's hardcover. It's really well put together and everything. It's binding, and it's got the straps in it. It's it probably wasn't cheap to manufacture it, and it's it's certainly worth the $60, and it includes a PDF when you do purchase it for $60. So the screen is 19. Yeah, I got it all part of the the Kickstarter, so I wouldn't know. A year ago, the same book was 40, and that may be possible too. I mean, everything's up 30%. It's like, so, going from 40 to 60 is not too crazy. It's everything's gotten a lot more expensive. The shipping costs are phenomenal, so I'm sure that they're getting hit with those kind of costs as well. So it's it's just been crazy. Yeah, it's inflation. It's literally just inflation. um yeah, I bet you socialists don't give away games for free either. But yes, yeah, you're right, Cal. Yeah, but I don't think that they're not selling to each other though. They're giving each other copies of their books. All right. So the cost to them for that is probably one third of what buying the book would cost anyway. So they just share the books out in their little circle there, and they are helping um, generate their own hype, let's say. Which again, I don't fault them for it. It makes sense. Yes, Trollord Games does use Twitch more, and they probably have a larger following there. Mongoose Publishing, Palladium don't really have a YouTube presence compared to fan channels. Yeah, yeah, they really don't. It's we're a small segment. Um, yes, yes, it is. I think that's true to a certain extent. I think Twitch supports um, 5e and Pathfinder much more than YouTube might. But the largest YouTubers in the tabletop role playing hobby are like 5e YouTubers, or at least they used to be 5e YouTubers. That's where they built up their big masses, and now they might be, since the OGL, they might be saying, "Oh, I'm branching out and looking at other things." But they made their first 90,000 on 90,000 subscribers on 5e. I watch Cantor's vids and this stream at once. Yeah. Um, Good multitasking. So let's see. Bennies are cool, but I only wear card hearts up here. Too Arctic for the things. Yeah. Oh, beanies. All right. Let's see. Two screens of the blast. The custom, the custom, the custom and book reviewing in publishing and academia is to provide the book to the reviewer. Yeah, and I'll ask you, because I know you've done some book reviews yourself, and so when they send you your book, the book, I mean, do you decide to review it regardless and do a video regardless of what that review is going to be? Are you compelled, when you're really impressed with a book, to buy it then, or to at least buy the PDF? These are things that I think about when, and I've only had one book actually sent to me, for review, and that was Baptism of Fire. And again, like I said, I really felt it was important for me to put some of my own skin in the game before I reviewed it by buying the PDF. Plus, I like to present the PDF and the book itself, at the same time. because I don't have a very good top-down camera to look at books. I can never get the thing to work, in the frame correctly anyway. But yeah, I'm a little bit iffy on that kind of a thing. And I've had more instances of uh, a person sending me a copy of the PDF to proofread it, or to, just like an adventure, like, hey, what do you think about this? And then they say, well, what would you like in exchange for this? And I've usually just sided with, just put a little attribution in the product itself, that I play tested it, or something along those lines, um, rather than getting any kind of monetary compensation for it, including even I buy the product after that anyway. So I just kind of weird. Um, don't know how to handle that necessarily. So, like, as far as getting a free copy of something, and then, am I going to review it? And if I review it, is it going to, you know, um, make me look like a shill, as some others said? But anyway, but never pay cash for reviews. Yeah, I would never, you know, and again, it's not a sponsorship, fine. you know um hey, will you boost my product out there? Will you, do that? And I do that with Kickstarters all the time. I just do it for free, because if I back a Kickstarter, I am able to say to my subscribers or my viewers, that, hey, this is good enough for me to put my own money to it. All right. And I still don't tell them you should go buy this. I'm just telling them that, hey, I back this, and you take that with, how you wish to take it. But this is what I really like about this, and this is why I back this. All right. And so, and speaking of backing, I'm going to have Venture on my channel Tuesday morning, talking about his current Kickstarter, which is something that I backed, and I, certainly support him and his stuff. I just absolutely love his stuff. And but he's going to be on the channel at 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh, 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock Eastern time, which is 9 o'clock Central time, I hope. and and we'll talk about his Kickstarter and such. So I do boost Kickstarters, ones that I've backed myself. Okay, somehow we're talking about hats. I prefer physical books. I like both. Yeah, I like both. It's much easier on the computer to have the PDF open, especially if you're writing an adventure or something and using it, and then I use it as a quick reference. More so than the books. But when I'm playing at a table in person, I like to have the books there. Give it a big corporation if you're buying their book. Big corporations can deal with a negative review. They're not even going to pay attention to a negative review. Let's see. Let's see where we're going. Let's see. Some YouTubers only give positive reviews of games, or only do reviews of games that they already like. Well, yeah, like I said, like I gave the point that I have one, and I haven't gotten to it yet on my shelf yet. I have one RPG that's on my shelf that I purchased, and it's literally crap. Now, when I get to it, as I'm going through that shelf tour, since one of my subscribers asked me to just show real briefly everything that I have on there. When I do get to it, I'm going to say, this is one of the few game systems that I bought that I just wasn't that impressed with at all, and it was luckily it was cheap. That I'm not gonna cry over $20 or $30, but it's just not a game system I would ever run. And as a Kickstarter, it was extremely late. I mean, it took over 5 or 6 years to put this thing out, and it's not big either. So I would contain all of that review in a 1 minute video. Do it as a video short, and then just leave it at that. I'm not going to devote a large amount of time to reviewing something that that I didn't like, and that I thought was not worth the money I spent on it. Otherwise, I'm spending an additional hour talking about something that I wish I didn't spend any time or money on. So to me, I don't typically do negative reviews. When I look at a game system, or I look at a product or whatever, I do the good, the bad, and the ugly with it anyway. I won't give anything that, hey, this is the best damn thing that's ever been written in creation, and its art is perfect. And no, I don't do that either. Like, I'll go through and I'll talk about the points I liked about it, the points I didn't like about it. I basically give you the good and the bad and the ugly of the of the product. Okay. A good review is meant to show what the reviewer thinks is good and what he thinks of flaws. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Yeah, it's exactly what I do. So I will pat myself on the back for for doing what I consider to be fair reviews. Again, unscripted and unchained. I oftentimes 99% of the time I'm looking at it for the first time as I'm showing it to you, and I'm giving you my first impression of it. And if I find something confusing, I'm going to say, wow, that sentence or that paragraph just doesn't work. It's just confusing as hell. I'm not going to hold back on it, and that's where the unchained part comes from. Yeah, and that's mostly true. Like, I have some things that I have on my shelf that I bought for nostalgia purposes because I had it back when I was back in the early 80s. And I'm also somewhat of a completionist. So I never played second edition AD&D. Not until within the last 7 years. I never played it when it first came out. And yet, as a completionist, I was like, I want to get as much of it as I can while it was still at that time fairly cheap. So so I have a decent enough collection of AD&D second edition, even though I've only played it a few times. I've actually played For Golden Glory, which is the retro clone of it, more often than AD&D second edition proper. Coordinated release of positive reviews of a product on the day of the Kickstarter goes live. Yeah, that was I mean, I do back Kickstarters and I do promote Kickstarters, but I usually promote them when they're almost finished, to give them that last little boost. And that goes for larger companies too. Like, I've had Stephen Chenault on my channel pushing Kickstarters for Troll Lord games. So yeah, I've never done an interview of somebody with a Kickstarter on day one of their Kickstarter. It's always been somewhere in the middle and usually in the last week of it. And most of my interviews have been for Kickstarter creators. Okay, that's fair enough. I would see more content. Yeah. IGN is the same problem, but for games. Yeah. Yeah. There's no, you know, as far as those arguments are concerned, you know, there's there's no disclaimers. There's no safety tips. There's no there's none of it. It's not here. So no disclaimers and no safety tips, no safety tools mentioned, no anything. Just jump straight out, play the damn game. You know, let's see. I'm looking for anything. There's certainly no. Again, I mean, she's either very genuine or very, very smart to know that if she threw a safety tool in this, all right, or a disclaimer in this, it will shut away 90% of the OSR from even taking a look at it. So again, genuine or super intelligent. Not that she can be genuine and intelligent. I'm just saying that it's typically one or the other. Yep, and others agree with you as well. So none of the SD fandom has done anything but made it look less appealing anyway. Even if really, I mean, I think that I've pretty much promoted it without blowing it out of proportion. I certainly put it in the context of how I think it really does shine, and that is in the convention play. I think it works really, really well for convention play. But you know, it's still subject to my experience as, is it a game system that I can play for 10 years? And I'm not even talking about one continuous campaign. I'm just talking about, is it something that I won't play for, I won't play beyond, a 5, 6, 10-year mark without moving on to something else. So it just remains to be seen. It's a little bit too new to make that judgment, at least on my part. Yeah, I don't genuinely think that there's that many people off grid that have actually come out and said that. I think that was an allegation that was said, and then it triggered those responses, probably on Twitter. The one individual that Blueberry Wolf Bridge was kind of calling out for some of this hype over the controversy. I don't know what their Twitter, feed looked like. As far as, people are genuinely attacking the attacking Chalcedon or attacking ShadowDark as a product. So I think that the the fake or the fabricated controversy took place first, and then maybe some people kind of filled in for the lack of by then coming out and being emboldened to say stupid shit. But for the most part, I haven't seen anybody. Um, I haven't seen anybody come out and say anything negative about the creator or the game system itself, other than not liking the game system for what it is, not saying, "Oh, it's a crap system. It's poorly written or poorly," no one says that. They might say that this is not the game system for me. That's perfectly legitimate. Um, but there's a difference in saying it's the quality of its writing is poor, which I don't see how you can argue that, but you're welcome to. But I haven't seen that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check out your channel too, Flint. Your actual plays. Looking forward to doing that. Hasbro told me to leave 5e Kelsey, who probably has different views than I, doesn't care of the focus on the game, not the politics of the game. Bring me back to the blue box D&D days. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I focus on the game as well, and I think she focuses on the game as well. She's focused on just gaming. I have about seven. I have about 7 friend requests or follow requests on Twitter that are just that kind of thing. Okay. So let's see. So yes, I agree with this here. Just because someone is gay doesn't mean that they are woke. Yeah, it's true. It's you know, um, I have gay relatives that they don't talk about it as if it's a political stance. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just don't and they don't let it like function in their voting either. Um, to a certain extent. So yes, that's an absolute true statement. Um, oh, I'll have to double check. I'm definitely going to check that out. 8 reasons to put schools in your game. I recently saw that was like two days ago or something like that. I will get caught up. I've been working all this week, so I will get caught up to that. But yes, I remember seeing the title of that, and have to double check that out. I was at one point writing a school for thieves. All right, and I have that someplace on on my list of writing projects that have never gone that much further into it. But yeah, I was working out a whole thing. It was almost like the Strixhaven for thieves kind of thing, just a hell of a lot more edgy, let's say, than Strixhaven certainly was. So, but yes, yeah, it's cool to put schools in your games. Well, it's good to see you, Uriah. How's it going? And yeah, socialist forced you to pay for it. Yeah. All right, let's see. Yes, Shauna, your book is for free. And it's an interesting read. I'm not sure. I like when an RPG book creates new YouTube channels. Are you talking about like people just start focusing on a new RPG and they create channels to kind of follow and promote it? Or or is that more tongue in cheek? I'm not sure. Okay. Let's see. Hey, thanks a lot, Tommy Bravo. Um, and congratulations to all of those that just got subscriptions. So that's awesome. And oh, Peter jumped in. I didn't see where. Hey, Peter, how's it going? So, packing up for a full day convention tomorrow as I listen to this. Yeah, hey, Peter. So, Peter is an awesome GM at a convention. He knows exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about, you know, certain, there's a certain thing about running convention games that is unique to running convention games. And there are certain systems that work really, really well in convention settings. They're just a lot of fun to play and um, he's using Savage Worlds for his own adventures and such, and Savage Worlds works really well in a convention as well. I've run Weird Frontiers, and that's a difficult game to run in a convention. A lot of fun to run it, but you have to trim that thing down to almost bare bones, and just keep some of the elements that make it truly unique. And it's a lot of fun. The players love it, but it is a tough game system to run in that case. Whereas other systems just have a really nice flow. The system of I keep on slipping my mind. The system, let's see, what was I running? Like I'm waiting to run Deadlands, but Savage Worlds Deadlands is another really popular convention game, so I'm looking to do that. In addition to bringing a lot of 28 millimeter stuff in, yes, yeah, all of these guys have great channels. Things I look for in RPGs when reviewing them is character generation, character stats, die roll mechanics, and character depth. Yeah, you learn a lot about a game system when you look at the character generation. Which I usually try to include whenever I'm covering a new game system. I always try to include character generation and going through that. You can learn a lot just by looking at the character sheet as well. Yeah, especially when you're doing comparisons between the two. There's a lot that you can glean from just looking at the character sheet, whether it's sometimes even whether or not it's the kind of game for you or not. Yeah, which one are you going to, Peter? I regret I am more of a collector of books than a player. Um, It's nice having a nice collection, though. You don't always have to, you don't have to play them. You know, it's it's sometimes good. Sometimes you're going to have books on your shelf as a, as a resource, as a reference, and that's fine too. Steve, that's a tough order. The SD boom has certainly caught some people's attention, but far too often, folks just want to manage their 5e rules to fit their artistic vision. Yeah, and that's possible. That's one thing I've been saying about, like, Shadow Dark is huge right now at conventions. Kelsey Dion is going to have to follow up in 2024, like I'm sorry, 2025. She's going to have to follow up with something more than just a Cursed Scroll #4. Maybe it'll be a setting book, maybe it'll be something, but it'll an expansion. But it's going to have to be something more than just some more adventures or whatever, to keep that momentum going into the next year. Because in the next year, who knows what's going to all of a sudden catch fire. Blueberry Wolf Bridge had come out and said Shadow Dark is this year's Morkborg. Big boom. Everybody paid attention to it, and 2 years later, Shadow Dark has already supplanted it, and so many other games had a lot of hype. But I think a lot of those had OSR hype. They didn't have a much broader appeal hype like Morkborg did originally, and then Shadow Dark does this year. And we'll see what the next big thing will be. And what's going to really catch fire at at conventions, because I think that's really the place to look to see what is going to capture the interest of a much more transient player base than there was pre-OGL. I think more people are looking around to see what else is out there than there was a year and a half ago. All right, so and I would stand by that. I would say that that's most likely a fact, and not just a stated opinion. So, Steve, I'm currently trying to get a group to try Shadow Dark with me running it. It'll be 5e players who've sworn off going to 6e. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that. That's what I'm saying. The population is going to be very, very transient, because a lot are not going to follow. They're not going to follow it because they can see the writing on the wall is that it's going to be a video game, and it's going to be a video game, and they're and one that has very high demands. I mean, what were they running their VTT on? They were running it on Alienware laptops that were probably $3,000 laptops, and then they're going to charge a $30 subscription fee per month, and then microtransactions on top of that. They are not moving to that. A majority are not moving to that system. Hoarding is a thing. Yes, hoarding is a thing. I've tried to convince my daughters that, when the day comes that I pass away, do not just take this collection here and just, throw it, put it up on eBay. There's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff there. And then my youngest one's like, oh, I'm just throwing that shit out. She was like, I don't even understand having books on the shelf. That makes no sense. She reads a book and she loves reading books, but she'll read a book and then she'll bring it to the donation bin. As soon as she's done reading it. So it's it's something. Hoarding is only worth it if your kids are going to actually do something with it other than just throw it out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly. So for people to say, "Oh, it's woke," that's insane. Absolutely insane. Yep, exactly, exactly. Ironcaster. Couldn't have timed it better when it came out, and it does strike the right balance, I think, between um, both modern and old school players. Let's see. Hey, thanks you, off grid. The misogyny was hinted at and implied by others. Yeah, but where? I didn't see it anywhere. I'd love for somebody to actually produce the evidence that they were, this was coming out, and pre saying that there was a controversy. Like I said, I think saying that there was a controversy might have spawned those to backfill in and say, "Oh yeah, I was thinking this too," and just trying to glom. That was one of the words I was going to use, during this, was that there seems to be a lot of glommers on in this supposed controversy, where some are saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm gonna white knight for her, and I'm gonna, you know, suggest she's my, she's my friend, and I, which comes directly from Blueberry Wolfbridge's video, and it was just glomming on. It was just trying to say, oh, you know what, I have an affinity for her because she's a female creator and she's being attacked for it, but nobody attacked her for that. Um, if anything, what Venture's thing was saying was that, you know, her game has sucked the air out of the room for possibly other game systems. But when I looked at the Ennies and I look at the other games that were, up for the same awards that she, her game system ultimately won, none of those other games I've ever heard of. It's like it's just a, it's just a fact, and I'm not so connected to the hobby as a whole, but I'm also not isolated either. It's like I'm kind of in between. Like I said, I watch a lot of different channels, and not one of those other games I've heard of. I mean, there was a Free League game, and there was, Aliens for some things, but not in the same categories as hers. So yeah, just bizarre. Yeah, yeah. There's I know plenty that aren't either. Yes. Let's get caught up. I'll get up to here. That would be cool, Peter. Like, wow, that would be really interesting to that's something you'd have to plan out so well, though, I think, is co-GMing at table at one time at a convention. But I will consider running Deadlands at Rising Phoenix. So if you're going to be back at Rising Phoenix in 2025, let me know. Let's see. Yes, yes. And we had this whole conversation too. When you were on my channel last, and we were talking about that. And yes, absolutely true. So let's see. Let me get caught up. I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not referring to the creators as throwing the most fire during the exchange. It was mostly the fans and possibly sock accounts that were doing the work. X was particularly spicy. Yeah, I definitely have to check that out. I have to say, like, one of the individuals that was kind of white knighting, has me blocked on Twitter, so I can't follow what was going on there. So I'll have to see. Where else it's come up on. So I will look at. I know RPG Content usually gets a lot of pushback on some of his things, so I'll check his out, and I'll check out Venger's as well, and see if anybody, if Venger actually posted this blog on there, and see where that might have generated some back and forth on it as well. But I have not independently seen anything come up until after I think it was initially pushed that there's a controversy. And you will be at Rising Phoenix. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, maybe I'll probably look to run. I'll probably look to run their just two game systems. So one of them will be Deadlands, and the other will, the other one will probably be like ShadowDark or something like that. Maybe Fallout. I'm really looking to run Fallout as well. So maybe those are the two game systems I'll run: is Fallout and Deadlands at Rising Phoenix. So I'll definitely touch bases with you beforehand. Okay. So real quick, I just wanted to point out. So the individuals giving out some gifts. Again, Mercurius, thanks as always. Tommy Bravo, very, very generous. Thank you very much. And those people will, certainly enjoy their memberships and everything. And members, even those that were gifted memberships, all right, do have an opportunity to play in any of my my one shots or any of my new campaigns as well. And of course, Off Grid is one of my players in my ShadowDark campaign that is running tomorrow night. And so we will be recording this one. And once it's, and I will be sharing it with certain places before it goes completely live. I will be sharing it around and seeing, getting some commentary on it, because I am certainly trying to, if you're familiar with a 1D, 2D, 3D, and 4D role playing, I'm trying to elevate my own game as a game master to, the upper levels of or mid to upper levels of 3D. And hopefully someday, perhaps we'll touch 4D. I'm not too sure about that. I think I'll be perfectly satisfied to be solidly 3D. But we'll see. The last session that we did, I wish I had recorded, because there was, quite a bit of players role playing with amongst themselves, and with the NPCs, involved as well. So really, really enjoyed that. And like I said, I wish I did record it, because I think it was a really good mix of new players. There was two brand new players and two players that had been with me already, and they really did pick it up pretty quickly. So looking forward to tomorrow night's game for that as well. So I suggest Night Train or Horse Eater if you were looking for con games in Deadlands. All right, I'll certainly double check those and see. I tend to like to write my own, but I'll see if I can get something. Again, I'm so tempted to just write my own and go along with that. I'll probably do like I did with my Weird Frontiers and try to convert a Robert E. Howard, Weird West to Deadlands, and take a Robert E. Howard story and make that the backbone of an adventure. So I'm probably leaning more towards that, but we'll see. I'll definitely check out those two as well. When Diversity and Dragons made a video about Jenny D, I only saw one YouTuber white knighting, but I think that was an excuse to talk trash about some other YouTubers he doesn't agree with. Yeah, it's like yeah, I kind of remember that too. Oh, I remember. I actually, even more so, I remember who that was. The eye patch wearing guy. So let's see. Kelsey doesn't need white knighting. She's too cool. Yeah. I think she's. I think she's a good balance between old and new. Yes. Yeah. I always try to do my own thing, and yeah, certainly looking forward to converting more Robert E. Howard stories to tabletop role-playing games whenever I get a chance to. I mean, some of his stuff will work so cool in Call of Cthulhu as well. Okay, let's get back to some of the banners that I was going to actually put up here. So getting back to like one of the things with like white knighting and everything, I came up with this thing. This is my own thing. The unaffected oppressed. People who claim to be harmed by something that was done to someone else then claim solidarity with the true or alleged harmed party. It's like that's the glommers on, right? Those that are just trying to attach themselves, which was the other thing I was going to put in there. So glomming, all right, to become stuck or attached to. They were just trying to stick and attach themselves to something that really had nothing to do with them, and their voice was unnecessary to the conversation, and yet it was just a form of white knighting where not really needed, and to try to attach themselves, and maybe that's the case with some of these channels, right? They're trying to attach themselves to the up and rising, individuals, and it's like, oh look, I support this too, and this is a great thing. So you should come to my channel and watch this stuff. And as soon as it loses steam, let's say the person or their game system loses steam, they'll drop it and they'll move on to the next big thing. And that's, one of the reasons why I cover so many different games is that, even though I have a large number of videos for Troll Lord game stuff, and I have, about 25 or so videos with ShadowDark, and it's because those are the game systems I run. I'm up to 12 or so videos with Fallout because that's the game system I'm looking to run. And so it's always associated with something that I'm either currently running or looking to run, that I do the most coverage for. Yeah, but there's a lot of white knighting and simping for her and that red-haired chick. Um, the attacks on the red-haired chick is that, and the reason why there was pushback against those attacks was because she was simply attacked because she's, you know, she's a female, and her perceived, it was perceived that, well, she doesn't have enough experience in the game system, whether it be youth or, just in general, not experienced enough in tabletop RPGs to have an opinion at all. Yeah, I mean, that attack, if we're talking about the same individual in the same attack, for the red-haired chick, and that's assuming we're talking about the same red-haired chick as well, it was a totally unhinged rant against her for no reason whatsoever, just because she held a view that the person attacking her disagreed with. All right, and so, and I'm not even going to mention that person, because that person will make 5 or 6 videos complaining that his name is brought up. So, or even just talking about an issue that he may attach to himself, he'll make 3 videos about. So anyway, but and I've never had a conversation with that red-haired individual, and I and I have had conversations with members of the BroSR, and I don't agree with a lot of what they say, but they're entitled to play the game the way that they like as well. But yeah, that was just a weird thing, and it really had to do with, yes, it is pure ginger hate. Maybe not like Hollywood ginger hate, where they try to erase them from from the existence, but yes. And yes, some of you know the person's name, or the persona name on YouTube, but I'm not going to highlight it because it's, like I said, it'll just generate hate videos coming from the other individual anyway. So I think settings, supplements, and conversion tools are going to be the future of the OSR independent sword and sorcery space. There is enough crunch out there already, and that very well might be true. I think the OSR needs to network a lot more amongst ourselves, and do a lot of sharing, and just like the conversation that Peter and I are having here in the comments section here. You can see that collaboration, right? It's important. I want to see an OSR, an independent game takeover of convention spaces. I want to see 90% of the games being run being OSR and independent games. I want to walk by 50 tables and see 35 different game systems being run. That's what I think is the true draw for conventions. I think, especially the mid and small size conventions. So under 1,000 people, let's say, is mid, and then under 300 people is small. And that's the true place to be, in my opinion, is to be at a small convention, 300 or so people, and you know, uh, 3 day long conventions, just phenomenal experiences to be had. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it is the person in question, I believe. CW. It is the person, I believe. Hey, take it easy, Mac. Thanks for stopping in. Savage Worlds did Solomon Kane. I have the original. I think they're redoing it though, right? I have the original one, but I think they're redoing Solomon Kane. If I'm not mistaken. Um, I don't know if it's called like a second edition or whatever. Um, it might have to do with the fact that is Solomon Kane also owned by Heroic Signatures now? Did they snatch that up, and maybe that's why it's being redone? Um, that might be a possibility. Promote your products through playtesting on the live platform streams, free advertising, and the time is plentiful for word of mouth and I will argue that even more so at conventions. That is a true place to really show off your new products is at conventions. Starting to lose my voice now. Let's see. I agree that more networking, the actual play out there, the gameplay is better we are. I get the sense that the loudest critics aren't actually playing and running lots of games, armchair quarterbacks. Yeah, yeah. Those are the tourists, right? The ones that aren't actually playing any games and they're just out there spouting off and deriding others for playing the way that they want. Yep. Yes, yeah. So it must have moved. I think it moved Peter to Heroic Signatures, just like the Conan IP. So I guess I forget. I'd have to look at Heroic Signatures and what characters, what Howard characters they actually do have control over right now. I'm pretty sure Red Sonja and obviously Conan. I'm kind of sure Solomon Kane as well. Yes, it's still done with the Savage World system, but just a different IP holder. Yeah, which makes me think, why do I even need to buy it then? I just use the old Savage Worlds ones that I have, and those are beautiful books, by the way. They're just so much packed lore in those things, and just a true sense of the world of Solomon Kane. That they're really, really well done. Yeah, Conspace is I mean, according to Gary Gygax, that's the place to be. That is one of the elements. If you're not running games at a convention at all, then you're not really mastering game mastery. According to Gary Gygax, and that's in his book. That's something that he kept on driving at was these are what make you a great game master. And and that was certainly, convention play was absolutely like one of the final steps. I mean, the final step was publishing, which I don't think is necessary to be a great game master. But that's the one disagreement I had. But that fourth of 5 elements was running convention games. And momentum kept on rolling as students took the new TTRPGs back to school and introduced more player students and spread. Yeah, absolutely. Word of mouth, and then just one of the best innovations, I think, in tabletop role playing, in the hobby in general, has been the releasing of quick start rules, and making them available for free. And that, unless I'm wrong, that started, I'd say, around, because I know it was out there for Conan, and that was 2015. So I want to say that was something that that probably started in the early 2010s. Let's say, I don't know who was the first to do it. I know D&D had it as well. It was called D&D Next, which is the precursor to 5e, and so that would have been around 2013 or so. So that might have been an earlier version of doing that kind of thing as well. But yeah, it's a really smart move, and it does open up a lot of tables to trying out new games that way. Yes, yeah, they're part trade shows. Yes, and again, like I said, when people are walking around, when I walk around and I'm looking at the different tables, I'm looking at, what are those, what do the tables look like? How are they displayed? That's why I'm a big fan of starter boxes, because they give you a whole bunch of visual things that you can have on the table, and it just draws attention to your table, and not so much just for you as a game master, but you're displaying the game system to passersby as well. And so, that's, part of, I think, your responsibility as a game master at a convention, is to promote the game system that you're running as much as you're promoting yourself as a game master, if not maybe even more so. And so that's that's an important thing at a convention. Is it is partly a trade show. Alternity put out quick start rules before the main books came out. That was in the 90s. Yeah, all right. So thank you, Jason. Like I said, I don't know exactly when that started. Back in the 90s, I was not in the tabletop role playing space any longer. I had taken a 20 plus year hiatus from tabletop role playing games, and I was doing computer role playing games during that time, and then MMOs starting in the early 2000s, really almost like 2000, up until about 2015. And then I made my return back to tabletop role playing games in late 2015, early 2016. And so, yeah, if they were in fact out in the 90s, then yes, that was during the gap time for me. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, I am going to double check for the last time my banners here, and nothing new there. So I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I am going to wrap this one up. But thank you everybody for joining in. I definitely I definitely think you should check out some of the YouTube channels that were brought up in the chat here as well, and check out Blueberry Wolfbridge. Interesting name, pretty cool channel. A lot of interesting things that he's talking about there. Like I said, he kind of hit some of the things that I was going to talk about here, and he says it much more eloquently than I do. But I think we were kind of on the same page before he just did his video before I got to this live stream, and I think that this whole thing, uh, this controversy, as sometimes they'll say, is I think initially it was something that was taken out of the spirit of what was said, and then a controversy was born out of it. And then the fabrication of that controversy is what generated any actual comments that were then kind of supporting the idea of the controversy. And so, I think that there's a lot of glomming on, a lot of white knighting, and and yes, in the latter part, some jealousy and envy and all of that also. But overall, I don't think that this is something that will have any real legs to it. It's going to disappear because I don't think it's founded on anything that was, truly an issue to begin with. ShadowDark won 4 Ennies, and I don't believe that it won 4 Ennies because it has a female creator, to be honest with you. Looking at the other game systems that it was up against, they're so obscure that just the fact that ShadowDark is a known entity in comparison is one of the reasons why I think it had a leg up in in its voting. And remember, it's fan voting. So fans are actually voting, for the games that they really enjoyed, and it won the fan voting. So that's another thing that I think has been missed from this conversation. It wasn't like there was a ruling body that that declared, like the Oscars or something, like, oh, you're going to be the victor here. No, there was fan voting. Now, how they tabulate that or whatnot, I'm not going to get into a conspiracy of thinking that this is this was corrupted in some way. No, it's just fan voting. Yes, I mean, Margaret Weiss is a great a great writer, and a great contributor to game design. Although I think that was more on the side of Tracy and Laura Hickman, that were more of the game design writers. But yeah, Margaret Weiss is definitely good. I think that they have they have a system. I don't know if it was both her and Tracy Hickman. What's it called? Like the Codex system, which I've never actually looked at. So that might be something I should look into picking up, because I think the system is different enough from others that it should be something that would make a great reference to see how it handles certain rules. I don't know if it's a D20 based system. I don't know if it's a class level based system, and I'm not really sure. Are you sure you're talking about RPGs or about RPG based novels? So Oh, so she wrote the Serenity RPG, which I didn't know. So was that connected at all to the Firefly RPG? Yeah, the games. Yeah. So is that connected to the Firefly RPG or totally different Serenity? And let me see something here real quick. Oh, this is it. It's the XDM Extreme Dungeon Mastery. Um, I think that's his system. Is the XDM Extreme Dungeon Mastery. Let's see what else is attached to that. I'm gonna have to check that out and see. I've heard that that is a separate system. That's pretty interesting. Two different games. All right, thank you. All right, with TSR, with TSR as well. XDM is a book of DM tips. All right, what's their system then? Their system is they have a system. Um, I'm looking for it. I'm not sure if it's based on the system. There's a system out there. I'll look into that later and see if I can find it. Okay, thank you, Flint. All right, so it's not the TSR one. It was 2012. Yeah, I'll look into it. I'll look into both of them and see what they were both writing at the time. But yeah, I know he has a game system out there, or I thought it was both him and Margaret Weiss, but perhaps not. And it was a system I wanted to check out at some point, so I'll definitely do that. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I responded well enough to Blueberry Wolf Bridge. I think I covered a lot of the same points he did. I certainly agreed with a lot of what he said, and I didn't get a chance to actually finish up his second video that he was talking on this particular topic. So I'm definitely going to go back and check that out as well. So you all have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy your upcoming weekend, and as always, I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen or at a convention sometime soon. As always, I put out the conventions that I'm going to. So my next one is ShireCon in Connecticut on September 28th and 29th, or 27th, 28th. I'm not looking at the calendar. Followed by Page 2 That's the Philadelphia Area Game Expo. That is in January 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, or something like that. And then I'll be at Rising Phoenix. Not sure when the dates of that are. In April. It's almost always in April. And then at AutoCon in June. Also, if you're not subscribed, I put up there that little scan me. You should be able to scan that, and that will take you directly to subscribing to my channel. So that would be awesome if if some of you picked up and subscribed. And Flynn, thanks a lot for the membership. So I will reach out to you, or actually go to my Discord, Flint, if you're not already there, and I will give you that role as a member so that you can jump in on the members chat and also get your name put in there for joining in my next campaign. If you're looking to join my my Fallout campaign, then certainly throw your name in the hat for that. Really looking forward to that. I just picked up the first supplement, so I kind of went backwards. I had the second supplement and then the first. So you can definitely jump in on that campaign. I'm probably going to expand that to more than just 4 players. I might expand it to 5 or potentially at the most 6 and see how that works out. So yeah, definitely look into that. And everyone else, if you're not subscribed, again, you can just scan that little scan me right on the top right hand corner, and it will take you right to the channel, and you can subscribe. And once this live stream goes live on the channel, I'll be able to it'll be a little while, a couple of hours, I think, before I can review the live comments, but you'll also be able to start adding the comments onto the video itself once it's fully uploaded to the channel. So you'll have a great one, and again, have a great weekend. Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, not Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend. So enjoy your extended weekend if this is a weekend that is celebrated where you're at. And I will see you throughout the rest of the weekend for some more videos. And certainly I'll have a game recap coming up at some point too on probably Sunday or certainly by Monday for my last Castles and Crusades campaign. I had a character death, so we're going to talk about that as well. And you'll have a great one. And remember, Venture Satanis, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be talking to Venture about his current Kickstarter and his future as a game designer, because I think that he has gotten enough encouragement that hopefully he will consider to staying on. And I already see that he's doing some shifting. He did a new blog post, so I have to read that in its entirety as well. But really looking forward to that. And Inappropriate Characters Sunday. I think this is the last Inappropriate Characters, so definitely try to check that out as well. So another shout out to RPG Pundit and his channel, and check out Peter Saloom and his his works. He has stuff on Drive-Thru RPG, so you can look it up there. He has some really great gaming materials there. I can attest that his most recent adventure, space horror adventure, was a blast to play in. So definitely check that out as well. And you all have a great rest of your weekend again. So have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming in.